Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be just a little bit different than usual. Usually, for those of you who do not know, this is a vlogging channel. My husband and I vlog every single day, mostly me, and we also have our beautiful 1-year-old daughter inside of our vlogs too. My name is Haley, and today's video is actually going to be a story time video, and the story time is going to be about how I found out I was pregnant, how did I tell my husband, and how did he react, and then I'm also going to go into just a little bit of detail about our very first doctor's appointment. First of all, I would like to just go ahead and say that at the time we were not married. We were only dating, and we had been dating for 6 months whenever we found out that we were pregnant. So it all happened very, very fast. Sorry if my camera angle is a little different. My memory card was full, so now I'm having to go delete some stuff and then come back. So back where I was at. What started it all is I had gone to the store because I was about to go get put on birth control because I wanted us to be safe and be careful, and we did not have our own house yet or anything like that. We were living with my great grandma on the weekdays and his mom on the weekends, and we really just weren't ready for a baby at the time. But at the same time, we felt like we were not taking the right precautions in order to obviously not have a baby. So I went and got a pregnancy test, and it comes in a pack of 2. Took the first one, came back negative, we were good to go. So I go to the doctor and I get put on birth control. Well, we get put on, this is a little bit of background story actually, obviously, before I actually tell you what happens. So we get put on, or I get put on the pills. Okay, so the pills you have to take every single day at the same exact time. And I've never been on birth control before my whole life, so you know, I didn't know exactly how everything worked after you stopped taking them. So whenever I was on them, this may be a little bit TMI for some people, but I bled a lot, and for about a month straight, and I could not handle it anymore, so I stopped taking them. And I was going to go to the doctors to try to get on a different kind of birth control. So I did not know, which now looking back, I'm like, Haley, how did you not know that whenever you get off of your birth control, your body is very, very fertile, and I did not realize that. So I was off of it for probably about maybe a month or so, and I had that extra test left because whenever I bought the pack the time before, there was 2 tests inside of the box, so I'd only taken 1. So I had 1 left, and I did not think I was pregnant at all. I had no symptoms. I had no anything. Nick worked nights at the time, so he did not get home until 4 in the morning. And whenever he got home one night, I was just like, I'm just gonna go take it so I can just get it out of my drawer. It was a lined one. I can't remember what brand it is at the moment, but anyways, it was a lined one. So he got inside the shower. I decided it was a good time to just go ahead and take it that day. So anyways, I take the test, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, no, it's just 1 line, so we're good to go. And then I take it inside of the bedroom, and I'm like, well, it said to wait 3 minutes, I think, 3 to 5. And so whenever I got inside the bedroom, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna take another look before I just throw it away. And whenever I looked at it, I saw the faintest 2nd line, and I was like, what? So I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally see 2 lines right here. So I run inside the bathroom where Nick's taking his shower, and I'm like, so actually there are 2 lines. And he was like, what? And he ripped over the shower curtain, and he was like, what do you mean there's 2 lines? And I showed him the test, and he clearly saw the 2nd line, but he was like, oh, I don't see it. I don't see it. And I was like, yes, you do. You see the 2nd line. We both know that you do. And he's like, well, I see it, but it's just so faint. And I was like, I know. Like, I could hardly see the line at all, but I could see it. So I tell him, whenever you get out of the shower, we'll just talk more about it. So whenever he gets out of the shower, he's just looking at the test. He's like, oh my gosh. And he tells me, I know that this is a test and it has 2 lines, which means positive, but until we go to the doctor, I don't want us to tell anybody, and I don't want us to get, you know, too excited, because at that point we were shocked, but we were also really excited. And so I was like, okay, that makes sense. But in my head, I was like, there's 2 lines, clearly I'm pregnant. So the next day, Nick goes to work and I go to Walgreens and buy a digital test, a clear blue. And on those tests, it just straight up pops up in big bold letters and says pregnant or not pregnant. So I go to take that test. This time it's late at night. I don't know, probably around like 9 or so. So I guess it's not really that late. So I go take the clear blue test, and by this point it's kind of towards the end of the day, and they usually say to get an accurate test you need to use your first urine of the day. So first thing in the morning you're supposed to go on the test. Well, this is the very end of the day, so I was thinking in my head, well, with how light the other test is, I don't know if it's going to work this time of the night, but we'll just go ahead and try. So I took the test. Within 3 minutes it'll pop up and either say pregnant or not pregnant. And I swear to you, those are the longest moments of my life. So I was just sitting there watching it just tick, 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 tick. Next thing you know, it pops up in big bold letters saying pregnant. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So Nick calls me on his lunch, or on his break. I always took him dinner, so I knew that night I was just going to take him dinner, and I was also going to take the test. So I tell him, hey, whenever I come to bring you dinner tonight, I also have a surprise for you. And he was like, okay. So I take him dinner that night, and he's like, so what's my surprise? And I hand him the test, and I'm like, this is your surprise. And he's like, okay. And he opens it, and instead of just seeing that faint little line that, you know, he was so gullible into thinking that maybe I wasn't pregnant, it straight up said pregnant. And he was like, oh my gosh, so we are pregnant. And we both sat there and were in shock, but also we were both like, we are going to have a baby. And we both got very excited, very nervous, pretty much every emotion that you could possibly imagine we felt that day, or we felt at that moment. And we were both just like, oh my goodness, how are we going to tell our family, and how are they all going to react, was honestly one of our very first thoughts. So after I gave him the test, he obviously had to go back to work. So whenever he got home that night, we kind of talked about it a little more. And we obviously knew from the very beginning that we were going to keep the baby. You know, we've always wanted children, and we knew that it was best for us to stand up and take care of the baby. And so that's exactly what we did. After we found out that we were pregnant, we set our minds to move out of the house and get our own place and start our own family in our own house. And that's exactly what we did. It's not the fact that we did not have money to support ourselves, it's just the fact that at the time it was easier and made more sense for us to save money by living with my nan and his mother instead of moving out on our own at the time and spending all this money. So we decided that we were going to save up. We were going to go buy all of our new furniture. We were going to go put the deposit on the apartment, and so that's exactly what we did. So now I'm going to tell you just a quick little story about our very first doctor's appointment. The reason I'm adding this into this story is because it was a very big day for us, and I always want to remember this day because it was very scary for us, and it was not your normal first doctor appointment. So the doctor that we chose to go to was a doctor that his sister and a lot of his aunts have used. He was a high-risk doctor, so every single appointment that you go into, you have an ultrasound. And I was not a high-risk pregnancy, but he saw everybody no matter what, which was very awesome. I loved that I got to see my baby at every single appointment. It made me excited every single time to go. So our very first appointment, we go in and we invite his mom and my mom, me and him. It's just us four. And we go in there super excited to see the baby for the first time, hear its little heartbeat, and they tell me to obviously get undressed because they're going to do a vaginal ultrasound, because whenever the baby's that little, it's easier to see with the vaginal ultrasound rather than an ultrasound on your belly. So I get ready, and they you know, get the ultrasound ready and everything like that. They start the ultrasound and then they kind of are telling you, okay, this is this, this is this. And then he gradually got to the point of, well, I see the yolk sac where the baby is supposed to be, but I do not see a baby there. So either you have had a miscarriage or you're just not as far along as what you think you are. And by that point, I was dead set thinking that I was 8 weeks pregnant, or at least 6 weeks. And so I immediately just thought to myself, like, I lost my baby. You come back in a week and we'll check again. And so in my head though, I always think the worst, and I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, like I'm about to experience a miscarriage and I cannot believe that this is happening, because by this point we had already told all of our family, but we have not put it on social media. But also at the same time, like, we had gotten over the scared part and we were so excited. So he scheduled me an appointment to come back in a week. And that week was literally the longest week of my life. I was so scared, and every 5 seconds I was running to the bathroom to make sure that, you know, I wasn't bleeding or anything like that. Every single 5 minutes, not exaggerating. And so the next appointment, I told Nick, I said, I just want it to be me and you, because if they are going to tell me that I have had a miscarriage, I want that to be a time for you and I to just take that in as a couple and experience that, just you and I, nobody else in the room, and we will let everybody know, you know, after the appointment. He said, okay. So it's just him and I. We go in there, we're both holding hands, and the doctor was looking around and he said, so do you remember last week about how I told you that you either have had a miscarriage or you're just too early to tell? And we were both like, yes. And he says, do you see this little dot right here? And I don't know what I'm looking at. My very first ultrasound, well, my second ultrasound, I guess you could say, but I did not know really what I was looking at. So I was just like, yeah, I see the dot right there. And he was like, that is your baby. And me and Nick started crying and we're holding hands and everything, like I said, and we were both just over the moon. And he said that the week before I was just too early to tell. So at this appointment I was 6 weeks pregnant, and so obviously my calculations were off by quite a lot. We were so overjoyed to hear that our baby was healthy and that I was not having miscarriage, that I just calculated it very wrong. It's very hard for me to calculate because my periods have never been at the same time every month. Ever since I've started having periods, they've always been very random, very sporadic. And also whenever I was on the pills, I was bleeding. Whenever I got off the pills, I was bleeding. So it's very hard for me to tell like when exactly it happened. I will never forget how it felt hearing that my baby was okay. And so I wanted to add that into this story time too. Even though it has nothing to do with how I told Nick or anything like that, I wanted to add it just because it was a very special time in our life. The next story time I'm going to post, because I'm sure this video is pretty long by itself, is a video of how we told our family, how did they react to our big news, and how did we tell our friends on social media. And also my story after that will be my labor and delivery story. If you are new to our channel, please hit the red subscribe button and join our YouTube family. Like I said, usually we do vlogs on this channel, and you will get to see my daughter every single day grow up. She is absolutely hilarious. She is absolutely beautiful. We do have some vlogs on here already. Give this video a thumbs up if you would like to. Ask any questions that you would like to, and we will see you all in our next video. Good